Walk slowly so we can watch baby. Years ago I worked as a cocktail bartender and waiter. A group of suits came in and sat down and I went to take their order. I got a bad vibe off them from the get-go, and after I finished the order and went to leave, this 30-something sleazy guy said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Walk away slowly baby so we can watch." I smiled at him and started to do an overdramatic slow motion back away, keeping eye contact with him and smiling the whole time. I told the other waiters about it and everyone started doing these slow motion walks whenever they walked past their table. The best one was a busboy who deliberately dropped something next to their table, then did a very slow and sexy pickup like the bend and snap from Legally Blonde. They left pretty quickly. Now to the comments. That busboy deserves extra tips. I hope he looked back at them with his finger to his pursed lips and said oh oopsies. Very breathy a la Marilyn Monroe. I read this as walk slowly, so we can watch the baby like it's a babysitter. Did the busboy maintain eye contact? Grinning squinting face. OP replied. Haha, he tried to, they were all doing their best to ignore him. That's hilarious. Have a feeling this guy has his whole life to look forward to women walking away. Ha ha ha. Without a comma in the title, I was expecting a small child to play into the story. Took me a second read to figure it out. Honestly, same. You and your colleagues were awesome. Made me smile and laugh. I have a similar story. Old guy we suspected of shoplifting came into our convenience store every now and then. Boss tells me to keep an eye on him. I try to be discreet, but he started getting paranoid and asked for a manager as he was heading to the register. He yelled that I must be into him or gay as I kept following him, etc. I was watching this from across our photo counter and he pointed and looked back and told me I was sick. Before he left, he took one more look and I have him a nice air kiss and waved at him. Never saw him again afterwards, and when I told my boss he couldn't believe I did that. Usually, the ones that freak out are the ones that have or are doing something wrong. A colleague and I were driving somewhere when he said he needed something for his car and wanted to pop in a parts store on our way. I got out with him and while he stood in the queue, I aimlessly wandered the aisles. Soon an employee started watching me, moving to the next aisle every time I did. Was the weirdest I ever felt. I started to feel guilty even though I didn't do or was planning to do anything. That's when you give them a little wink and sidle up to them. Brilliant. And apparently effective. I would so love to have seen that. Read one about student nurses and a sponge bath. Long story short, PDT demands sponge bath from cute younger girl. Time passes and in walks a male student nurse who is over 6 feet 220 insisting on giving patient a sponge bath. Well played. This reminded me of something that would happen at a bar I used to work at in the early 2000s. It was an unofficial policy that if a female employee was approached by someone who gave them a creepy vibe, they should point to the nearest male employee and tell them that was their boyfriend. One night this sleazy guy comes up to me and says, "Okay, how do you do it?" I naturally asked, "Do what exactly?" To which he said, "I've asked out 4 of you waitresses, and they all told me you were their boyfriend. How did you do it? Do they know about each other?" He's looking at me like I'm some kind of god because of this. Deciding to blow his mind, I see a waitress heading our way and flag her down. I guessed right that she was one of the 4 because that meant this guy had asked every waitress. I explained to her in front of the guy that he seemed impressed that they would all date me. I then asked if she minded if I shared my secret. Now playing along, she says sure and she wants to see his reaction. So, I tell the guy the secret is to treat the each like the queens they are, and while you're with them to make them forget about the rest of the world. In short, while you're with them they need to be your world. Do that, and the right women will be willing to take turns. As I finished speaking, the waitress leaned in and kissed me on the lips. When she leaned back, the guy was walking away, a thoughtful look on his face. The waitress told me, after that performance, if I actually liked men, I would ask you out. I just smiled and said, "My lose then." Even years later it still makes me smile. I choose to believe that you made a profound impact on that guy's life. He took what you said, examined himself, then really dedicated himself to paying good, wanted, mutual attention to one woman. Then he thought about expanding to another woman for just a second, but realized he had what he wanted and decided that this was the woman he would marry, if she would have him. Here's hoping you're right. I like that idea. Slow clapping, that's how you deal with douche canoes. Overdramatic slow clap. Tries to join in on the clapping but hasn't clapped since before COVID, so it feels weird. Oh my god. The bend and snap works every time. And I totally read this in the character's voice, face with tears of joy. So, did I? I may now have to watch this movie, LOL. I read this as someone wanting you to walk slowly so they could look at your baby. They sound like some D-bag professionals. Maybe junior executives. Who thought they were the greatest thing in the world. Maybe they worked for Activision Blizzard. Oof. Came here for a story about a, literal, baby, got a story about a busboy instead. Grammar matters. Points for the busboy for sure. Not great job security, but duck it, haha. Busboy job security? I'm a busboy, and I come back to the same business every fall and winter break, and work every summer. Low-key, I'm rude as duck sometimes. You can be rude to about 1/300 customers if you're slick/smart about shit, and they hire me back every time because I'm hella fast, and the waitresses love me. Making friends with the waitresses is the key, because they'll be like, Anan is our favorite busboy, we all love him so much. Don't try this if you work for a chain. They don't care. I work local, so my approach works. Then you're set, cause if the manager fires you, it pisses off the whole staff. Don't cuss customers out, drop a ton of plates, steal tips, or piss off the waitresses. Then help them with refills, to gain extra love. Maybe duck one of them after a late night shift. And voila! You're set. Bonus if you're super nice to all the regulars, and they all love you too. Now, you've earned the right to be rude to 1 out of every 300 parties. Enjoy the 3 minutes of satisfaction per day this gives you during your 8-hour shift. The busboy is the hero we all need in our lives. Ha ha ha, oh my god, the bend and snap works every time. I would have just been like, alright, out, duck right off, but your approach was a million times better. High fives for creativity and teamwork, LOL. Next time go the Quasimodo route and hunch a shoulder and walk slowly while dragging one foot. I like this bait and switch approach. Want to be creepy and sexualize the woman serving your table? Enjoy seeing this man's ass instead. It was awesome of your team to all get on board. Would have been a good time to fart. Punctuation matters. I was halfway through the story before realizing there was no baby being watched. I was also expecting an actual baby human. LMFAO, you always win with the bend and snap, LOL. At first, I thought this had something to do with keeping your eyes on a baby. Busboy for the win. If there was at least one decent man among them, you would have got a huge tip. The title led me to believe this was about a kid being scolded by a parent to tiptoe around their sleeping baby sibling so they can watch TV in peace. Lord, main eyes will be the end of me. I love this. Great workplace solidarity. I hope the busboy got a free lunch or of that, because that is hilarious. Best MC I've read in a long time. Great response.